Thank you so much for being here. My name is Christina Mitra, pronoun she, her, ella. I'm the program manager of the Hormel LGBTQIA Center of San Francisco Public Library. Yes. The queerest library ever. We're up on the 3rd floor. If you haven't checked us out, you are welcome to come today, tomorrow, every day we're open, and we're here for you since 1996. We've been one of your safer spaces to be in, and we continue to be committed to being a place where everyone is welcome. So thank you for coming and getting your healing on at the library today with the Transgender District. To start us off, I want to offer a land acknowledgement and also acknowledge that a land acknowledgement is just the very first baby step in all of our efforts towards bringing land back, okay? So this was the San Francisco Public Library Commission adopted this Ramaytush Ohlone land acknowledgement with the American Indian Cultural District in 2021. And the San Francisco Public Library Commission acknowledges that we occupy the unceded ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone peoples, who are the original inhabitants of the San Francisco Peninsula. We recognize that the Ramaytush Ohlone understand the interconnectedness of all things and have maintained harmony with nature for millennia. We honor the Ramaytush Ohlone peoples for their enduring commitment to Mother Earth. As the indigenous protectors of this land and in accordance with their traditions, the Ramaytush Ohlone have never ceded, lost, nor forgotten their responsibilities as caretakers of this place, as well as for all people who reside in their traditional territory. We recognize that we benefit from living and working on their traditional homeland, and as uninvited guests, we affirm their sovereign rights as First Peoples and wish to pay our respects to the ancestors, elders, and relatives of the Ramaytush community. We recognize to respectfully honor Ramaytush peoples, we must embrace and collaborate meaningfully to record Indigenous knowledge and how we care for San Francisco and all its people. So before we get started with this fabulous panel, I do want to note that we have Spanish interpretation available. So if you need Spanish interpretation, please come see our friends in the back here. And without further ado, I want to welcome up a person that is very dear to me, Brianna McCree, co-executive director of the Transgender District.
Thank you so much. Hello, hello, hello. DJ, can you turn my mic up, please? Thank you so much for that amazing introduction, Christina. How's everyone doing today, this afternoon? So first, I want to thank my staff. My name is Brianna McCree. I am co-executive director of the Transgender District. What I do at the district, I do not do alone. I have an amazing staff that I could not do this without. I have my co-executive director, Carlo Gomez Arteaga, who is so amazing. I also have Boo, who is our operations manager. We have Sean, who is our CFO down in Palm Springs. Hey, Boo. And we also have Belen Meza, who is our communication specialist. We have the amazing Carolina, who is an amazing program assistant. All of this today wouldn't be able to happen without Carolina. And we have Rainbow in the audience, who is our social media maven. And I am here, and I'm your host for today's Let's Chat series. The Let's Chat series came about because we wanted to talk about decolonizing practices. We wanted to talk about decolonizing the way that we interact with community members being trans and non-binary. This year, it's no different. Today, we're going to talk to healing practitioners about the work that they're doing in community, and I want you all to get to know them. So please welcome Key and Bex.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kiana Charles. I go by Key. I am a resident yoga teacher at the SF LGBT Center. I just started my 3rd year with them. So yeah, I'm very excited to be here. Thank y'all for coming.
Hey everyone, I'm Bex. I use she, her pronouns. I'm super excited to be here and a part of this conversation. I'm a queer witch. I'm a Reiki and energy practitioner. I am also the founder and author of House of Our Queer, Healing, Reframing, and Reclaiming Your Spiritual Practice. So my focus is on kind of anti-church hurt and also understanding our energy and spiritual health.
I love that. Thank you. So let's just jump into it. So you've introduced yourself. Can you talk a little bit more about the work that you do in community?
Yeah, I have been doing a once a month yoga series at the SFLGBT Center, and it is on the last Tuesday of every month, and it is really creating space for queer community to tune into themselves and meet community. That is the reason why I do what I do. I teach yoga because I got tired of seeing people who didn't look like me in classes. I didn't think that there was enough representation. And that is a lot of the work that I'm doing in person and then also online through the LGBT Center as well. So yeah.
I love that. Come on back.
Yeah, I mean, I got to this work through social justice burnout. I was just doing like national advocacy around queer advocacy, and in 2020 had that great quiet time and was like, oh no. Oh no, I'm gonna need something else. And so the work I do now with House of Our Queer that kind of came out of that time focuses on, like I mentioned, just our spiritual health. We talk a lot about our mental health and sometimes about our physical health, but I think the other part, our spiritual and energy wellness, especially as queer and trans people, is very amorphous and sometimes something we're repressing for reasons outside of ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And so the offerings that I have really focus on that. I do something called Queer Church. That's on, it's an IG Live that is now available on YouTube for folks that are taking meta breaks. Do whatever you need. But it is just a free way to kind of keep track of time and share astrology updates, something for the thinking of and nourishing of our spiritual wellness, and a collective tarot poll for the week. And then I also do a bunch of offerings in Oakland and now increasingly San Francisco that are focused on coming together. So I do a monthly moon rituals and moon circles. I do tarot and astrology meetups. And I'm increasing some offerings around lineage repair work specifically for BIPOC folks.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you both for the amazing work that you're doing in community. It's so needed now more than ever. You talked a little bit about the why, but let's dive deeper into why do you do the practices that you do? What made you start doing it? Why?
Well, if I take it all the way back, my
Come on.
my wellness journey started with my dad. He owned 2 gyms growing up, so I was very familiar with what small business fitness looked like, and also the amount of work that takes. Simultaneously, also realizing that people like me don't typically go to the gym, not because they don't want to, but because they don't have the time and can't afford to. So with that, as I started to increase my involvement in yoga and wellness, I got my bachelor's in kinesiology. So I'm very familiar with the body, and my journey with yoga started at the same time that I joined a Buddhist fraternity in college. So mindfulness and meditation became a real staple in my life, just as a means of coping with different things through college, grief, like I realized that more people needed the services that I was seeking. And then it became very apparent that in order to make the changes that I wanted to see, I had to do something about it. Because nobody else was going to create space for people like me in yoga spaces or in gym spaces. So a lot of my work is really comes back to my dad and wanting to create a world that I feel like that he could be himself in. Because as a Black man in America, you can't.
Come on, say that.
So he grew up in South Central Los Angeles. He was lucky to get out of the situations that he was. So I don't take that lightly. My mom raised me. My dad was in and out. So it was just seeing what happens from the survival mode that America creates and wanting to be able to, one, help myself cope with that, and two, create community so that we can all help each other cope with that.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm. I love just standing next to and being a part of this conversation. And I'm like, let that just filter out like little intention seeds.
Come on.
100%. I also, the offerings I have all stem from my roots. I'm Chinese and Polish. I'm from a super small town off of Cape Cod in Massachusetts, where it was like the 1950s had never changed. It still is. And so the idea is, when I say I was raised Catholic, I mean like Puritan Catholic, like not cute, like, oh, I don't know if there is a version of it. That's not that. But it was very strict. And then also my dad is Buddhist, not as a religion, but just way of life. I'm first gen for him. He came over for grad school. And so there was always this sort of like asterisk. It was like, well, the church is the way, the truth, the light, the ritual.
Yes.
Kneel now, sit here, stand here. And somehow my mom was like, well, also this, like your dad is always good. Like there was always this one example outside of like how to be good.
Yeah.
And when I came out in college, when I realized that, like, I talk in my book about something called the pain place. So it's when you like are learning about yourself and you're growing and you're changing and the community that you knew isn't growing and changing with you.
Yeah.
Right. And that space, that distance is really painful. And for me, I was like, well, forget the church, forget spirituality, forget everything.
Yes.
I'm going to just go into, like I said, social justice activism. Definitely not a church. Nothing in any way was being like spreading the word of gender terminology to the masses. I was definitely not preaching. I was doing different activist work completely. And I think, what happened, like I mentioned in 2020, I just burned out. I was just like, oh, the way that I am approaching this, it's not helping me. It's not helping my community. It's not being there for folks. It is just me burning out to ignore myself and the pain that I am still carrying from this rejection.
Yeah.
And so the offerings that I got into in the Great Quiet 2020 was really realizing that there were things in my spiritual roots and practices and rituals that are mine.
Yes.
That don't belong to anyone, that aren't a part of it. And that I can have my witchiness, I can have my religious roots, I can have all of it. I can have my Buddhist principles and my connection to ancestors and following the moon in a witchy and a Chinese way, right?
Yes.
The connection of all of the things was possible. And so as a biracial person, I feel like I'm always blending. I'm always, I'm never going to fit into a space.
Yes.
And I get access to so many spaces. So how do I make this work for my spiritual practice too?
I love that. Thank you. Come on. How do you approach holistic care when working with trans and non-binary bodies?
I would say the simplest way is listen to them, talk to people.
Right, because not a lot of people really talk to us.
Yeah,
and listen to us.
Exactly. So something that I really emphasize in all of my classes is that you're going to know your body better than I know your body. I heard something at one of the events at the LGBT Center, actually, and somebody was like, I am not the gatekeeper of your wellness. And also somebody told me the difference between wellness and well-being. Wellness has become a commodity in America.
Yes.
Well-being, that is revolutionary.
Come on, say it.
The biggest act of rebellion that you can do is take care of yourself. And that part is the part that I think more people need to realize. And more people also need to understand that is what transness is. That is what queerness is. Queerness is freedom. So for me, the way that I talk to people of my community in these spaces is from my lived experience and the like, because I'm also biracial or multiracial. I'm Native American, Mexican, and African American, and all of that has diaspora. So with all of that, I can't make any, like, in the same way that people make assumptions about me, I'm not going to make assumptions about anybody else. So I want to create the space for people to tell me what they need, if that makes sense.
That does.
Because I don't want to make an assumption that isn't going to serve you. I want to be able to create a community and a space that welcomes and hugs you.
Love that.
So.
Come on, I love that. But can I just jump in and say, you're absolutely right. I'm reading this book called Rest is Resistance, and rest is our right. We have the right to rest. We have the right to recharge and take care of ourselves. Whenever you feel like you are moving at this space and this space of the speed of light and you can't slow down and it has to be done, remind yourself that you have the option to rest. Rest is your right. Taking care of yourself is your right. You have the right to slow down and take care of yourself. The work will be here. The work will be here when we're gone. Take care of yourself in the now. Remember that.
I love that. I think one of the ways that plays out in my offerings with House of Our Queer is just following non-Gregorian calendars. I'm just really over this calendar.
Yeah. Say more
the
about
idea
that.
that this calendar was built on top of so many ancient ways, like
Yes.
lunar calendars. We're in Lunar New Year right now, year of the Earth Snake. But just thinking about the ways that this belief system that people have created that there is a 5-day work week. That doesn't exist. That is not real. We've decided it exists.
Yes.
It's not real. Starting a year in January during Capricorn season, that's why New Year's resolutions are like top down. Here we go. Feel
Yeah.
bad about myself in the winter. Like there's just so
Exactly.
many things about the system, the calendar, that is capitalism. That is
It
like, oh,
is.
I'm always working. It's always time to go.
Yeah.
It's always time to be productive. And one of the things I love is like following lunar calendars, following astrology, the offerings I do with House of Our Queer. It has times like astrology will tell us it's time to rest. It is time to chill, recharge, to sleep. And then when it's time to go, when it's time to burn, like there is a rhythm to it, you know. 2025 is the year of the Hermit in tarot cards.
Shut up. Come on.
Yes, we are in the whole year, you know, is of just slowing, of focusing internal. So I think conversations like y'all being here to think about healing, you know, having these conversations right now is so important. I didn't answer my question, but I just had to get into that. My bad. But
No.
I think, but very similarly, I think just like the space, like as a practitioner, as someone who likes to create and facilitate circles and spaces for folks, my goal is always to have it. The core principle for House of Our Queer is queerness is a blessing, right? The blessing and thinking about the intuition that we have for listening to ourselves, even if there wasn't
Yes.
other, and often when there wasn't other, like ways to explain what that looks like, and deciding who we are, how we want to show up in relationship, how we want to love ourselves, how we want our bodies to look and to be and to engage. And, you know, trans and non-binary people have such a beautiful additional layer and additional work to like build and shed.
Yeah.
Right. And I, again, yeah, I don't assume what that work is, but I hope to always like create a container in places where I am and in my healing offerings where that work can be done.
Thank you. I love that. The year of the hermit. This is the
Remember
year.
that.
Yes, come on. This is the year where we all come together with community to slow down and talk about what we need to do to gear up for the fight for next year, because there will be a fight. Yeah. So let me ask, what are some of the obstacles you face in your healing practices? And doing what you do, what obstacles do you face in order to get things done?
Accessibility is a huge one. I am going to share this vulnerably and with no shade to anybody who was a part of this.
This is a safe space.
But I worked at a yoga studio for a long time, or for almost 2 years. And in the summer, they decided to let me go. And accessibility is so hard in yoga, or wellness in general, because of how expensive it is to run a space and run a business, but then like spaces like yoga studios, depending on the location, they tend to gentrify it because you are just bringing in people who don't live here and kicking people. Like if you're in the Mission and you're charging $200 for a yoga membership and you have to pass homeless people or unhoused people on the street to get up there, you have to desensitize yourself and ignore the problems to go bring your fancy yoga mat all the way up to the space. That is really, really hard for me when the people who I'm seeing in the classes that I would teach in that situation are so different from me.
Yeah.
And the people that I'm passing on the street are so similar to me. And also in losing my job, I am so grateful for the community that I have, and also simultaneously realize that you aren't as far from it as you think you are.
That's
you are
right.
closer to losing your home than becoming a millionaire.
Yes.
So take care of your friends, take care of your family, and take care of yourself. I don't know what the question was. I'm gonna be real.
What challenges do you face? But that was one of the challenges that you face is accessibility and working in a place where people look like you and accept you.
Yes, and I think that's the hardest part for me about the wellness industry is in order for me to have a position in a space of like where I can actually make a change, I have to advertise and accommodate people who don't look like me.
Yes.
That becomes a struggle because then it disconnects me from the community that I actually want to be able to support.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm so grateful for places like the LGBT Center. They have given me Nick and Timothy.
Love them.
I would not be here without them. They had more faith in me than I had in myself. So yes.
Thank you for sharing that. I love me some Nick and Timothy. They were part of the co-conspirators to help this even happen. So I'm lucky. We're lucky to have Nick and Timothy.
So lucky.
I resonate with that as someone who I do House of Our Queer work on my own, which means I do a million jobs and any odd job I can get, and I also babysit and I also like do whatever it is to try to live and try to pay work and
Come on,
try to manage. Also,
Hustle.
100% trying not to source my income from the community I'm trying to serve. That is not the dream, and also it's part of the reality. And trying to figure out that balance is under capitalism in the Bay is a challenge. I think I would say, like, in terms of my offerings, one of the challenges is just the fact that our community just like continues to feel and be attacked level 12 every day. And it can feel that when I'm trying to talk about wellness, when I'm trying to offer wellness, I'm really mindful that it isn't coming out as like spiritual bypassing. I don't want to say I'm not present with what's happening. I don't want any of the offerings I'm doing to be disconnected from the realities that we're in. And at the same time, I really see them as this balance. I see them as this way that we can't always be down the drain and in the circle and feeling it and feeling worse and feeling worse. Because that's also what the system wants.
Yes,
but
it wants
I think
to beat you
that
down.
balance of being like, I am with what is happening, I am experiencing it, and I am creating space in being present, and also that we deserve, like you said, rest, joy, abundance, community, healing. I think trying to offer healing at a time when healing feels like a luxury.
Yes.
That's a challenge. It shouldn't.
It shouldn't.
But it's a challenge.
Yeah, I struggle with that even myself, just working. I go home, I get home at about 7. I immediately walk in the house, I get undressed and I get into bed and I wake up and I get dressed and come back to work again. And I do it all over again, and I'm not really resting. And so I'm not finding that healing type of rest, nor am I really finding joy until I have to create the joy around me. This is joy. Being here in community and spaces with you all and having these conversations, this is joy. I think this is why also we do the work to create spaces like this. But I do want to ask you a question, and it's off topic. I know I sent y'all the questions, but this is not on the list. Being that we are under attack and people, high anxiety, People are scared. People are frustrated. If someone comes to you in your healing practices, what would you do?
If you have,
I can if you
Yeah.
want. Just so one of the offerings I have is energy work, and I focus on nervous system resets. And I offer them like sliding scale just at this time, especially, but just thinking about a lot of times when we're scrolling and when we're being present, we're not thinking about the effect that actually has on our energy and our nervous system.
Tell us.
And so I can get in there and just fix that, right? And like create some resetting energy. And that's been like a big offering right now, just like making sure that we aren't holding inside of our actual bodies the news, right? Letting it happen, but creating the like energetic boundaries to keep it out. And then also just continuing to create community where we can come together. Like I did a post-election astrology salon and we needed it. You know, we're like, let's talk about, and it's not real. It's like, let's talk about Pluto and Aquarius and what's happening. And it created this opportunity for, well, here's this other thing that's happening that's even bigger than this country, that is based on like community and like shared resourcing. And let's just come together and talk about it for a little bit.
I love that. I need to get with you about astrology. I don't know much about it. Someone did my chart before and I was like, what does all this mean? It doesn't look like me. But so we'll talk about it.
We'll talk.
Okay.
I would say something that I've started to do in my classes is acknowledge, like acknowledge what feelings come up with it. Acknowledge like where you feel that in your body. And that's a very somatic kind of idea of like, there is only so much that we can control. And there's not a whole lot that we can control.
That's right.
So in like the goal within a yoga class is to create presence. So to be able to, one, step out of the propaganda that is what people are saying about us.
Yeah.
Like, and also to acknowledge the pain and the sorrow that you feel. Like to create the space and validity for both. Because if we continue to suppress the pain, then we're just going to keep ending up in this cycle. Like humanity is going to keep being in this cycle until we can get our shit together. You know, like it's for me, I think that when people come up to me and like want support, like I want to be able to hold them and create space for them to be heard and seen. I also want them to be able to tap in and listen to what they need.
Yeah.
Like, what do you need in this moment? Like, for everybody in the room, close your eyes or lower your gaze, but take a moment. Maybe take a deep breath in and a slow breath out. Take a moment to notice your body. Maybe do a body scan, starting from the toes, slowly moving all the way up to the crown of the head, going at your own pace, your own breath. Can you acknowledge an emotion that you feel in this moment? Do you notice where you feel it in the body? Creating that sense of presence, that is an act of rebellion. Creating that sense of presence in your body for yourself, the space for you to tune in with yourself, that conversation internally, that introspection, that is a gift. So if I can help lead people towards seeing that in themselves, that gives me hope. So thank you for that spontaneous little moment.
It's lovely.
I love that. You know, and actually make sure you all come out Thursday because you get to experience both of these amazing individuals in action. Sign up. There's a QR code. It's free. Come out and get some more healing with us. So who's doing time check? Am I doing, what time is it? Boom. All right. So let's just move into some audience questions.
Sounds great.
So does anyone out there have any questions for Key and Beck?
Okay. I've
Yes.
got a mic coming, so. Yes, but we are recording, so we want.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for the mic. Thank you for accessibility. What gives you joy? What is the source of unending joy for you that you tap into when your person tells you, what do you need?
Mhm. I think for me, Mother Nature, like I'm really enjoying the rain right now. It really feels very healing and very timely with winter and just all of the feelings that are present. I find that kind of to what you were talking about, when you start to move with the cycles of the earth and just are more present with her, then there's a little bit more space to be present with yourself, or I find for myself. So thank you for asking.
Great, lovely question, because we are talking about wellness and healing, and it should be leading to joy, right? It should be circling back to that. I would say anytime like community and food are connected, that's my
Yes.
woo, like all my ancestors just smiling around in all the ways. I did a Lunar New Year hot pot on Sunday, and we've done it a few years in my community. It's just open door, everybody come through, bring whatever, throw it in the pot, let it grow. And there's just nothing that just feels like recharging and seeing each other in ease. And well, even if you brought like, a thing of mushrooms, a thing like a bok choy, it's like it grows and grows, and that's joy for me.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. Oh, me. What brings me joy? I have to say my community brings me joy. I am a trans woman of a certain age, and there was a long period of time where building community was really hard. Building that support system was really difficult. But now I can honestly say I have an amazing support system that I can lean on, that I can call on, that is there for me, and I am there for them. And I think for me, that was the goal, to create family, to create this secondary family as being estranged from my family for a period of time, to create and support others like I wanted to be supported. So I think that's what is my joy. When me and my girlfriends get on the phone and have these 3-way, 4-way, 5-way phone calls, that's where my joy is. When one of them is sick and saying that she needs someone to come and take care of her, that's where the joy is for me. Anyone else? Yes, come on.
Hello. I wanted to know, what are some daily like health practices that y'all do to keep yourselves grounded? I think for me, as I'm like starting a new cycle in my life, I'm wanting to incorporate more like things that kind of ground me, just because I feel like, yeah, I need to be present with myself, with everything that's happening right now in the world. And somatic practices are good, but I think sometimes like I do it more as like if I'm triggered, or if I'm like, oh, I'll remember to, okay, like take a breath, but it's not something that's like consistent. So I was kind of wondering like if y'all have any like consistent daily practices that y'all do to keep yourselves like grounded.
I would say that something that I've actually started doing in the morning is actual literal grounding. So going outside and having my feet on the earth, like, and creating that presence and awareness of the space. Something that another practice that I've started doing is while I'm brushing my teeth, like just having a little dance party, like putting on my favorite song. Anything can be a ritual. Like anything that serves you, anything that brings you joy can become a part of your practice. So that can be something as simple as putting on your favorite song and dancing, or something as big as doing an entire yoga class. But creating spaces and options for yourself on those days that are a little bit more low dopamine or high dopamine, like creating practices that you can use no matter where you're at, I think is what helps me create more routines and things that are actually more accessible for me. Thank you for asking.
Yes.
Yeah, it's such a great question. And I talk in my book about ritual as like spiritual insurance, that like we don't know when you're going to need it. You don't always know, but it is really hard to develop it when you're in a crisis. And that's the time that people most often find me. And so I get that. That's real. That's how I wouldn't have done anything without incredible burnout and the worst breakups of my life. And also like learning the hard way, doing it when you're well, doing it, as always, this isn't what I'm doing because I need it and I'm spent, but this is what I'm doing because I'm living on this earth in this body, and it's a day, another day, has been really helpful just to kind of reframe for me. And I will say I'm really big on altars and just having like a physical space that's like, this is where I go, this is where I send my energy. I light incense for my ancestors every morning. I'm like grateful to just be here, be a living queer person, existing. And so just like having a little space that reminds me, like maybe I shouldn't just sit right down at my computer and do my work. Like maybe I'll go over, do a little something first. That's been a big ritual that's been really helpful for me. And I will just say also, if folks do come to my workshop on Thursday, I'm going to have ritual stations so folks can really engage with and try some of the rituals and different ways to kind of engage laid out there too.
I love that. Thank you. I mean, I can answer that. I think for a minute I was really burnt out as a new executive director that didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was just burnt out because I'm just spinning my wheels trying to learn, figure out, and create and put out fires all at the same time. I think I was just really raw. And I was in this shop, and Buddhist practices have always called to me for some reason. My parents and family raised me as a devout Christian, but Buddhist practices have always called out to me. And so we were in this shop, and there was this necklace, and it was a Buddhism beaded necklaces. And I was like, why do I want this? Why do I like this? And I was like, but no, I'm not going to do it. And my girlfriend seen me, and she was like, oh, and so she secretly bought it for me. And so she was like, I'm a Buddhist, and I see that this is calling to you. And I didn't even know that she does Buddhist practices. And she was like, you just grab a bead in the morning and you do your Buddhist practices. And she brought me, who is called Black Tara. And I just chant to Black Tara every morning to fill me with energy to get me through the day. I am not doing that right now. And so probably that's why I'm a little burnt, but I need to start that practice again. So thank you for this and these conversations that we have together to reground me in my practice. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yes, I appreciate it.
Appreciate you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, so I'm going to ask one last question. What advice do you have for someone just beginning on their wellness journey? Someone that wants to start their healing journey, doesn't know how, they're kind of lost, probably coming from a broken, churchy, Christian, Mormon, religious background, but healing is calling to them. What do you say to them?
Yeah, like, my people.
Welcome home.
Welcome home. So glad we've been waiting. No, I think that, I do think ritual, just listening to the calling, building in the little practices, I would say to trust your intuition. The most important thing, that we know at some level what we need to heal. We know what is not burning us out. We know which scrolling practices before bed are not serving our sleep.
Yeah.
We know what we're doing to push down and push away our own wellness, and to unearth that and trust our intuitions to say, like, I actually want to do something different. Like, that's, I think, the most important thing.
Yeah, I would say what comes up for me is understanding your why, like what your reason for doing that is, because you're knowing that and acknowledging that is going to create the consistency, because consistency and discipline in anything is what's going to create, honestly, lifelong freedom. And with that, something that came to mind for me was keeping your promises to yourself.
Mm.
And when I say that, I mean this morning, I wanted to go to a 6 a.m. yoga class, and I did. But I wanted to stay with my partner in bed. So part of me really wanted to do that. But if I had done that, then I would have essentially, like, I wasn't listening to myself because I was putting her needs before mine.
Yeah, then
So-
started that commitment to yourself.
Exactly. So even in relationship, like we have talked about it. We've talked about burnout. We've talked about community. And unity in community starts with self-care.
Come on, say that. Say that again.
Unity in community starts with self-care, because when you care for yourself, then you have the capacity to, one, care for others, but two, help others be uplifted by caring for themselves.
Mm.
So to what you had said, we all know what we need. Like, if you really think about it, there's probably something that you've been wanting to do for a long time that society told you couldn't do, that you've been lying to yourself saying that you don't actually want to do. So do the thing. If there's something you want to do, just do it. And I know that is easier said than done, but like, I think of, my mind went to Dochi. My mind went to Dochi. I'm gonna say that. But like, it's just yes, I'm not saying that these issues and these problems don't exist, but you gotta do it anyway.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta do it anyway. And I know that that can be hard, because I don't want to do it. Like, when I first started teaching yoga, I was so scared.
Yeah.
And even teaching, I still get so scared. And like, you got to do it scared.
Run
get out
towards
of
what
scared.
makes you scared.
Exactly. So, thank you.
Yeah.
That just, like, thanks so much for all of that. And it made me think too of just also encouraging you all to kind of throw away what you think a well person is, or what you think wellness looks like. Like, we live in the Bay. Like, you don't have to meditate every morning. You don't have to go on a hike every afternoon. You don't have to like yoga if you don't like it. No offense. You don't have to like any of this shit. Like, you don't have to do
if you don't like yoga,
any
don't do
of
yoga.
these things. Exactly. Like, there is one way to be well. And there's no practice that is going to be right for you. And I think sometimes, like, trying to fit ourselves, like thinking, well, I want to be well, and that means I better do these things. It doesn't. Like, there's so many ways to be in community, to be healing. I'm a big
Yes.
proponent of the sacredness of the queer dance floor and that energy and stirring it
100%.
up on at night. Like, that is a part of my wellness practice. Like, you can do the things that feel good and kind of disillusion yourself or break yourself from what it's supposed to look like, because a lot of that is centered in whiteness.
Yes.
And like the wellness industry.
Exactly.
And it's just like
Yes.
another trap for how we're supposed to be and how we can beat ourselves up for not being.
There's a difference between wellness and well-being. So
That's
aim
right.
for well-being, because the industry wants you to focus on wellness and the commodity of what they think it means to be well.
I love that. Wait, I want to know what this queer dance floor. What is this?
I just mean that when I'm out, in a queer dance floor, like when I go, I will say I co-host some Queer Magic Dance Party. It's a monthly dance party in Oakland, and that's part of, we have
really good things about that.
Thanks. It's a great party. It's once a month. And we do, there's a lot of things we do. We offer tarot. We have vendors. We do a queer meet every month so people can get together and connect. And then we have DJs and we do it up. And it's important. Like, that's a big part of celebrating in the community.
Yes.
And that, I feel like that dance floor, like, is sacred.
I love that.
I was going to say that my first queer community, my first chosen family, was born on a dance floor. Like, you're not talking, you're just dancing. Like that.
I love
Kind
that.
of, the amount of power that we have in being able to exist in this, like, energetically,
Yes.
us being in this space like this, that is what we need more of.
Yes.
So-
that's right. We're powerful right here, right now in this building, all of us
Correct.
together.
Yes.
But we need to create a queer dance floor here in San Francisco.
Yeah, that's real.
Would y'all come dance it out with us? All right.
Yeah.
Let's talk more
Okay.
about this. Please give it up for Key and Bex.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And Brianna, of course.
Yes. Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, definitely. And please give it up for me.
Yes, for Brianna.
I have to wait. I know. I just want to say this. I hate public speaking. I would never be up here doing this on the microphone. Last year, I literally forced the staff to do it because I was terrified in doing it. And so this year, I am running towards what scares me. Yeah. So that's where I'm going to find my joy.
Yes.
And this is joyful. So thank you. And thank you all for coming. I really appreciate everyone here. Thank you.
Yes, a round for yourselves. Thank
Yes.
you for taking the time to be here and caring about wellness.
Gratitude to each and every one of you. Thank you so much.
Let's give it up, honestly, one more time for all the vulnerability, the gems dropped on this stage, the connections. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I want to let you know that we have copies of House of Our Queer up on the third floor for you to check out with your library card. So if you don't have one yet, they're free. All you need is a California ID. And even if you don't have that, we can hook you up. So upstairs on the first floor. And just thank you all for being here at the library. We hope to see you soon. And we hope to see you at Wednesday and Thursday.
Yes, come on. So thank you, Christina. So Wednesday and Thursday, you can still find us at the SF LGBT Center. We have offerings both nights. There's a flyer out in the lobby. Please scan it and come see us. Healing doesn't just start today and stop today. We have a full week long of healing sessions waiting for folks. So please come and get your healing with us.